الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه أجمعين أما بعد. When CNN started, I started watching CNN until today, much less than before, but I watch the news. I want to know what's going on in the world. Used to watch ABC, BBC, CBS, NBC, any other combination of letters. That's a media organization. Maybe I tried to watch it or watched it because I am a researcher. Allah blessed me and my family, my wife, who edited all of my books and articles, to produce 60 books so far and tens of thousands of articles, all of them in English, all of them about Islam. So being a researcher, I need to know what's going on in the world. And so often I use the information in my books, articles, lectures, meetings, discussions, debates. It's important. CNN, I watched the organization grow, and the news people also grow, not only in their positions, but also in age. It's been decades. And me too. So CNN was a part of my almost daily intake of news. Today we're going to talk about Dana Bash. This is a part of an article written by Dominique Mastrangelo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Dominique Mastrangelo with MSN.com. He wrote an article titled CNN's Dana Bash Rhetoric Toward Jewish Students on College Campuses Unacceptable. That's what she said. And I need my glasses to see Dana Bash. Her words. So let's start. This is now my research. Dana Ruth Schwartz, that's her name, also known as Dana Bash. CNN on screen since 2000. She's been working with CNN for 30 years now. And Dominique says that she opened her Inside Politics program Wednesday, like a couple of weeks ago, by blasting demonstrations by pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses across American universities and colleges in recent weeks. Dana says, "We start with destruction, violence, and hate on college campuses across the country." Key word number 1, hate. Bash said to open her program before showing clips of protests from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the UCLA, saying, Dana Bash said, many of these protests started peacefully, with legitimate questions about the war, but in many cases they lost the plot. Bash argued. Now protesting, she says, the way the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, is prosecuting the retaliatory war, keyword number 2, the retaliatory war against Hamas is one thing. Making Jewish students feel unsafe at their own schools is unacceptable. And it is happening way too much right now, Bash said. Bash then showed a clip of a Jewish student at UCLA being blocked from using an entrance to a campus building by pro-Palestine protesters. She said, Dana Bash, now she's saying this. Again, what you just saw is 2024 in Los Angeles, harkening back to the 1930s in Europe. Keywords number 3, or key sentence. Harkening back to the 1930s in Europe, and I do not say that lightly. The fear among Jews in this country is palpable right now, said Bash, who is Jewish. Dominic said it. It's here. Dominic said it, who is Jewish. So Dana Bash is Jewish. Dana Ruth Schwartz, also known as Dana Bash. Now let's talk about the keywords. Hate. Demonstrations. This is America. Demonstrations have been happening here for a very long time. They say that this is freedom of speech, whatever. In so many cases, demonstrations turn either violent or people say things against each other. The word hate here is specific. Dana, who is Jewish, is using the word hate to remind the people, Jews, Palestinians, hate. That's another word for anti-Semitism, isn't it? Breaking news, Dana Bash. The Arabs are the largest Semitic group in the world. That's a fact. So the Palestinians, they are not against the Jews because they are Semitic. Otherwise, the Palestinians will be against their own selves. That's absolutely not. Hate. So when you disagree with the Jews, it has to be hate. That's what I watched Dana say other, on other programs, say some things that were reasonable. Today, it's different. Hate. You mean because the protesters were protesting something and the opponent happens to be Jews, and there were some violent aspects to these protest demonstrations. That's not what I'm talking about here. By the way, I grew up in Kuwait, and I grew up with our people, and the Arabs keep telling us demonstrations. I'm fed up with that. Been fed up for decades. They didn't help us. Demonstrations do not help us. Those who are protesting in the name of my land, I didn't give them authority to do that. I don't want the protestations. And I'm going to agree with Dana Bash here in a little bit. So the demonstrations, easier for me to say than protestations, the demonstrations are by pro-Palestinians. Many of them are Jewish, many of them are atheists, many of them are Christians, and of course Arabs and Muslims. Why does it have to be hate? It's not hate. They're protesting, as you said, the war between one of the largest militaries in the world, the Jewish army, fanatically supported by the West, living off of the West completely. Money, intelligence, tanks, airplanes, guns, what else? So Israel is living off of the West, and there is a war going on between Israel against a maybe 10,000, 15,000 strong, what do you want me to call them? Group, okay? Against more than 600,000 soldier size army, including the reservists. That's not a war. The Palestinian people are not like the Israeli people, who are mostly, except for those who study the Torah at schools, they are reservists. They have weapons. They are called every time there is war, most of them or all of them. So that's one of the largest militaries in the world, And the Palestinian people, thank you very much, Hamas, don't have weapons. And they didn't stockpile for this conflict with regards to food, water, medicine, or anything else. Thank you very much, Hamas. The people didn't know, and my hand is falling from the arm of the chair, but that's not important. What's important is it's not a war, but you said it's a war. They're protesting the way the Israeli government is conducting the war. Why does it have to be hate? When somebody says, stop killing women and children, maybe in other times people say, yeah, okay, we agree with you, but this and that. When it comes to the Jews killing Palestinians, stop the killing, hate, anti-Semitism, anti-Shemitism. Need I say more? Because it looks like these people, it's incredible. Like any time you oppose the Jews in anything, it has to be anti-Semitism. And they are not the only Semites. If they test the genes of the people who claim to be Israeli today, maybe half of them will not have the genes of the Semitic people. I do. I'm not anti myself when I'm against the Jews. I'm anti against the Jews because they came and killed my people. And those who they didn't kill, they expelled them. We have about 8 to 10 million Palestinians outside of Palestine living in exile. They exiled them, they stole their lands, their farms, their homes, their happiness, their lives, and they killed so many women and children. Since the beginning, 2023, until October 7th, 300 people were killed in the West Bank before Hamas did what they did. And they started the last conflict. There is no doubt about it. They don't deny it. But 300 from the beginning of the year, some of them are from my family. Women that are connected to our family. A young man from our family just finished his medical school, wanted to help people. They shot him. A 9-year-old young boy. These people, they, like so many of them from my family, they were born into this life. They lived a few years and they were killed by the Jews. We never enjoyed their presence in this life. We didn't get to know them. So it's not hate. Now let's go to the next keyword. Now, protesting the way the Israeli government, the Israeli Prime Minister, is prosecuting the retaliatory war against Hamas. Breaking news. I watch this all the time on CNN. Breaking news. CNN, by the way, looks like completely controlled by the Jews. You have, of course, Wolf, Blitzer. You have Jake Tapper, who was supposedly leaving. He's still there, and others. There are no Muslims, practicing Muslims, anchoring at CNN, NBC, ABC, MSN. What else? They don't bring practicing Muslims. They just bring all kinds of practicing people from other religions to talk. But since before 9/11, they never brought somebody who's a practicing Muslim to actually talk about their religion. They always bring experts on Islam, Jews or Christians or atheists, but not a Muslim. They don't have anchors who are practicing Muslims. They have anchors or news people whose name sound like Muslim, but they're progressive. And progressive means they don't practice the religion at a minimum. So these organizations, they won't allow the Muslims and the Palestinians to have access to the media. I said, I watched them grow. They've been sitting there. Wolf, Dana, Jake, leave, retire. Let fresh faces come, especially from today's younger generation who are horrified, a large segment of them, by what the Jews are doing to the Palestinians with their money and their taxes. With their money and their taxes. And those politicians like the president, who is a Nazi in the behavior, he called himself a Zionist. Why did I say Nazi? This is my thinking pause. Wait a little bit, wait. I'll explain. I might need the glasses. Retaliatory war. Breaking news. The war between the Palestinians, or the conflict between the Palestinians and the Jews, did not start October 7. You mean before that people were sitting and, having a nice time, and then all of a sudden Hamas started killing and kidnapping people, and then the conflict and the war started? The conflict started 106 years ago when Britain, the Brits, gave Palestine, which they did not own, to the Jews who never owned it. You see, the Europeans, the Romans, idol worshippers, they kicked the Jews out of Palestine in the year 71 AD. Until the 1900s, the Jews had no connection, no ties whatsoever, no property in Palestine. They didn't live there. They had no farms, no homes. They just started coming when the Brits said, hey, you can go there, displacing millions of Palestinians. So the conflict started 106 years ago. Since then, I'm going to tell you something, and check it on the internet. Who was entrusted with pacifying Gaza in the 1950s? 1950s. Look for it. You're going to find pacifying Gaza. You will find a certain name that is famous today among the Westerners and the Jews and the Palestinians. 1956, 1967. Let's mention something here. Around 2005, when the Westerners kept saying to the Palestinians, elections, democracy, then we can talk. They did elections. Hamas won. 2007, by force, Hamas took over Gaza, and they killed some of the Palestinians in the way, and by force they took over Gaza. 2007, 3 years, 17 years ago. And then the Israeli government started a total blockade of Gaza 2007 until today. Total blockade. Can you imagine that your food, your family's food, your water, the water that your family and neighbors drink to live, the medicine that you need, has to come through permission from the Israeli government? This is not a good life. I guarantee you. The people of Gaza can tell you about it. So, retaliatory? Why didn't you say that the conflict started a long time ago, 106 years ago? 2007, total blockade by air, land, sea, under the sea, under the land, whatever, total blockade. They prevented water, medicine, food from coming in. Retaliatory? It's like it started October 7. Dana Bash, you're a Jew. You know what the conflict is about. But what can we say? Since 2007 until October 7, how many times there were wars between Israel, this army, and a few thousand Palestinian fighters from Hamas. So many times. Thousands and thousands of women and children were killed several times. Total destruction almost. Systematic bombing, missiles, airplanes. And the Gaza people don't have anything to defend themselves. Again, thank you very much, Hamas, to defend their lives. So all this that happened, all this, you forgot about them? One of the wars, I think the one before, or this one, or the one before that, 2,000 children were killed. 2,000. That's all, what? 2007 to 2024. Blockade. And you are retaliating against the protestations that is stopping Jewish students from going to their classes, and they shouldn't have done that. I am against demonstrations, especially the violent ones, and I'm hoping the people keep away from my country. These demonstrations haven't done us any good. I'm sitting in Richmond here. I should be sitting in Jenin, the West Bank, and visiting Al-Quds, Jerusalem, anytime I want. But I'm here. So many demonstrations that we lived through didn't do us any good. But anyway, are you comparing stopping Jewish students from going to their classes in your mind by saying retaliatory to the total blockade for 17 years over Gaza? 2.5 million people, 5 miles by 25 miles. You shouldn't be blocking students from going to their classrooms, Jewish or otherwise. But are you comparing this to that? Retaliatory? The Jews started the whole thing. There were no Jews, there were Palestinians. Then the Jews came. And then death and destruction and expulsion came. I am a result of it. I didn't live in the West Bank in Jenin. I just visited there. So it's not retaliatory. It is another round of violence. And the reason behind it are the Jews. They kept coming and coming and killing. And so many times they attacked Gaza. It's not October 7. Don't make it look like the conflict started October 7. So they're preventing Jewish students from going to their classrooms. Let them go. Also, there were infiltrators among those demonstrators. It's been proven. And who knows who's sending these people. Among those who are demonstrating, also there are Jews who don't like what their government is doing, Israeli Jews even. And are you calling them also hate? No, they don't hate their own people. They hate the death and destruction. 35,000 people are dead, including 2/3 of them women and children. Unbelievable. So when people said stop the killing, anti-Shemitic, anti-Jew. No, it's not anti-Jew. Here is the situation. I'm living in my farm, on my farm. I have a house, I have children, family. Jews are coming, settlers, and they're saying, get out, this is my house, this is my land, this is my farm, or else, if they don't shoot before they start talking, and they say, get out. Why? This is my land. Anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish, hate what? This is our land. No, it's my land. It's not yours. You see, the Old Testament said that God gave it to Abraham and to his seed forever, minus 19 centuries, because from year 70 until the 1900s, about 19 centuries they didn't live there. But who's counting forever in the Bible? Minus 19 centuries, 18 centuries, 18 and a half centuries. You count it. I don't have the time. But when you tell them this is my land, anti-Semitism. When I protest that you're trying to kick me out of my land, anti-Semitism, hate. You mean I should love you? Why? Because you're a Jew, you can come and steal, and if I say anything anti-Semitism, breaking news. Now, here is the last breaking news, and 25 minutes, what can I say? I'll try to finish in 5 minutes, but I can't. This is horrific what she said. I'm sinking in my chair. My glasses. So this is 2024 in Los Angeles, harkening back to the 1930s in Europe. I did not know that the Nazis were going after the Jewish people in Europe, in Germany in specific, and other areas after that, trying to stop them from going to colleges. Was that what they were doing? Stop from going to class with demonstrating. Did the Germans say to the Jews, you're not going to classes, we're demonstrating? No, they were killing them. And according to the magic number, 6 million, not 5,999,999, they killed 6 million Jews. The Holocaust, see, not Holocaust, not a Holocaust, it's the Holocaust. And that word, just like Semitism, are in the pockets of the Jews. They're the only ones who can use that. I didn't know that the Nazis were going around stopping Jewish students from going to their classes. They were killing them. And another breaking news, those who killed the Jews were Christians. The Holocaust, Christian Europe owns that. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. Palestinians didn't do it. The Arabs didn't do it. Muslims didn't do it. Hindus didn't do it. Sikh didn't do it. Buddhists didn't do it. It's European Christians did it. And it's not all of a sudden they started killing the Jews. It started centuries ago. When Europe became Christian, they started killing the Jews because they killed their God. Because they killed the God they worship. That's why they've been killing the Jews, and it doesn't matter the slogan. It's the same thing they've been doing for centuries. Do you know that the first crusade that was supposed to leave Europe, Christians carrying the sword, going to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem, to expel the pagan Muslims who worship one God, while the Christians worship 3 gods. Before they went all the way out of Europe, they said, hey, before we go there, we have the Jews sitting here. And they attacked the Jews and killed so many of them in Europe. They killed the Jews and they didn't do you anything wrong. They were sitting there being oppressed by the European Christians. Those European Christians were the most horrible people at the time. They started by killing the Jews, and Allah has told us in the Quran, by the words of His Messenger Muhammad ﷺ, that we are not allowed to kill women and children, period, in war, specific, and in other times. So that was a horrible thing they did. They killed them, but they went to Jerusalem, and there they killed the Muslims, men, women, children. Even Christians who were taking refuge in churches, stole everything, killed the Jews. That's the kind of people. But it continued so many times. The Christians wake up, Good Friday, bad Friday. Good Friday for them, they think, but it's bad Friday because the Jews killed their God. La ilaha illallah. There is no ilah except Allah. There is no God except Allah worthy of worship. Anyway, that's what they did throughout their history, and we didn't do it. Breaking news. The Nazis were not Muslims. They were Christian Europeans, and therefore the Jews should go back to those countries Germany, France, Italy, they were sitting around, and the Pope there was. They apologized later. Romania, Poland, they were killing the Jews, sending them to concentration camps. Give the Jews parts of those countries. I agree. I have no problem with that. Let them take, because you can't come and kill me in my land in Palestine. And I tell you why. Holocaust. Holocaust what? I didn't do it. Go punish the people who did it to you, not me. I had nothing to do with it. And they did their own Holocaust in Palestine by killing so many thousands. Gaza is a clear example. So what the Jews are doing in Gaza is the same thing that the Nazis did to the Jews and those who supported them, the Christians. They're Christians. Hitler said, "Today I am a Catholic and will always be a Catholic." I put it in my book, Holy Wars, Crusades, Jihad. The 3rd edition is coming soon, Allah willing. Holy Wars, the Old Testament, Crusades, the New Testament, Jihad in the Quran and Sunnah. I published this in America after 9/11. I mentioned here the things that Europe did to the Jews in the 1930s. So the Nazis, what they were doing, the Jews are doing to us now. It's a Holocaust. I mean, you didn't buy the Holocaust and the right to use the word. You're doing it. You're killing men, women, children, systematic destruction, carpet bombing, and you're telling me Holocaust? Holocaust what? We didn't do it. You kill my people because somebody else killed your people? That doesn't make any sense. Wolf, Blitzer, I have an article responding to you, and you were mentioning grandparents, what the Nazis did. That was awful, but we didn't do it. We didn't do it. How can you expect those Jews in those news organizations, there's so many of them, such as Wolf Blitzer, of being neutral? This is a fanatic Jew. He used to work for Apex, and now he's neutral somehow. These are the same people who were cheerleading for the attacks on Islam and Muslim after 9/11, denouncing Islam and Muslims every day, cheerleading for Bush and Cheney to go occupy Afghanistan and Iraq. 1 million Muslims were killed. Millions were had to flee the countries, and total destruction almost. Iraq ended up in the hands of Iran, free of charge by Bush, a gift. You were behind that too. All this destruction and killing. If there is going to be any prosecution for the war criminals, Bush, Cheney, and the people who, the neocons, CNN, NBC, ABC, did I miss any other letters? They should also be prosecuted for what they did, all the death and destruction. I can't expect these people to be neutral. So, newsflash, the European Christians were Christians. They did the Holocaust. We didn't do it. You can't punish us for that. And when we're trying to take back our land, our right, we will never forget it. Never. We will never forget that it is ours, Palestine, all of it. You call us hate? Hate what? You mean I should just love you because you're a Jew? Come on. Harkening back to the 1930s in Europe, no comparison. So let me end by mentioning Biden. He says that he is a Zionist. He said it before. He proved that he's a Zionist, a Catholic. The same people who killed the Jews throughout history, all of a sudden he's a Zionist. Really? You're a Catholic. Read your own history. But, so he is a Zionist, but he's also a Nazi, because he is supporting the genocide, the Holocaust that's being conducted with support and help from the West. And Biden in particular, because he wants to be president again, doesn't care who's being killed. They're killing us the way the Nazis killed the Jews in Europe. So, Biden, you are a Nazi. There's no doubt about it. Don't tell me about 1930s. What kind of garbage is this? People are stopping some people from going to classes and comparing that to the Holocaust. And the Holocaust, Palestinian, because we're little, we're not important enough. 35,000 so was that. They killed 6 million. But this is the key word. We didn't. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to support our people in Palestine, and that the Arabs and Muslims finally wake up and help and support their brothers and sisters. This is ridiculous that the Arabs are lining up to do political dealings with the Jews, peace treaties. Even some Arab countries that never fought against the Jews, peace treaty. Look what they're doing to us. Don't you have any mind and heart? And most Arabs and Muslims are against what the Jews are doing. There's no doubt about it. But we have oppressors too. As for Netanyahu, you are being a good student of the Old Testament, especially that part. Especially that part that says, go to this town and kill every man, woman, child, suckling, infant, oxen, sheep, and donkey. Don't forget the donkeys. It's in here, and this is from the Old Testament. Actually, this Hebrew part is from the Hebrew Old Testament. It says, go to this town, kill every man, woman, child, suckling, infant, sheep, and donkey. Oxen, don't forget the oxen. But the donkeys, I don't know why they keep calling them to kill donkeys. Oh, Allah help us. We'll be patient. We're not going to give up Palestine, no matter what you do.